Welcome to Sisters in Arms. I'm Kerrie Ann Auclair, and we are here to empower minds through education and advocacy and real stories. Let's get started. So today is a very special day. This is 51 of the episodes for Sisters in Arms, and we have a very special guest, Nichole Filipe. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Did I say that right?
You did.
I did. That's great.
She nailed it.
I did. Oh, good. So I have to say, you're our first female firearm instructor on the show.
Fantastic.
So
I like it.
congratulations.
Hopefully we'll be
This is
there
awesome.
more.
I know. So you are a certified instructor, but you also are a police officer. So I'm going to let you dive into it, and I'm also wanting you to tell me your why story.
Okay.
And what led you here. So
Sure. So I grew up in the city, and it was, tough life on my own young age, and the older I got, I wanted to do something. So I would campaign, I would do whatever I can to get the word out, like just let's do this together, let's work hard, let's be good together. And then when Sandy Hook happened, I decided I wanted to be a police officer and I wanted to do something. I wanted to make a difference. So I went to the academy, became a police officer. Now I am a part-time police officer, but I work full-time as a firearms instructor. As a firearms instructor, I get to make people proactive instead of reactive. So if I can teach one person to defend themselves when they're in the neediest part of their life, yeah, it's nice to have a good police force, but you're still 5-10 minutes away.
Right.
You have 5 or 10 seconds to react into what you're going to do to save your life and the life of your family.
that's a good point.
So by being a full-time firearms instructor, I feel that I'm doing my part to make our community safer by teaching, education, by having them learn how to be safe with firearms, how to use them properly, and so much more. Like what I teach and other ladies like me that are part of my group of ladies have so much to offer to our group to expand out. So I find that being a proactive person instead of a reactive person is so much better. So I just love doing what I do.
So kind of like being prepared and not paranoid. Because some
Correct.
people say that's like what we are. We're paranoid. We're not. We're prepared. So I'm glad you said that, because I think the misconception, especially with the gun law that just passed, Chapter 135 in Act of 2024, the reason why they were trying to create this bill is they wanted to make safer communities. And I laugh when they say that, because in all reality, people like yourself, any firearm instructor, we're the ones that are making safer communities.
Absolutely.
And women being the fastest growing demographics right now, it makes me smile to see that we have other female firearm instructors, and I know they're out there in mass.
Oh, absolutely.
I know there's a bunch of them. I haven't met many that are like active in the role. So seeing you being active and having all these women have a place where they can be comfortable and feel confident, and you are giving them that power back, is really something to say.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm very proud to do what I do. I definitely can go home and go to bed knowing that I did my best that day to hopefully maybe protect that one person in that 1 second of their life. Because I don't always just talk about firearms. I talk about other ways that you could protect yourself, like being aware of your surroundings, other things that you can carry for self-defense. Some people, it might not be the right thing to have a firearm because they might not use it. So I'd rather them have like a pepper spray or a stun gun, something that they would feel more comfortable using to defend themselves.
And sometimes people have disqualifiers that don't allow them to have firearms.
Right.
So I like the fact that we're not just teaching firearms, we're also teaching situational awareness, maybe pepper spray classes, teaching them how to protect themselves in the home, out of the home, with the tools that they can have.
Absolutely.
And tools that they have, how to use the tools.
Absolutely. That's the biggest thing. You can have all the tools that you need and all the tools that you want. If you do not know how to use them, there's no point to that tool.
Right.
So that is, in the way I instruct, I teach it as a tool, a dangerous tool, no different than any other tool. But it's a tool that you need to learn and complete muscle memory and continue to use that tool. It's not like riding a bike with a firearm.
Right.
So the way I instruct, I like to instruct in steps, baby steps.
Right.
The first time you drove a car, you didn't get the keys and jump on the highway.
No.
They had to go down a cul-de-sac or a parking lot and learn. So it's no different when it comes to firearms or even self-defense.
Right.
And one of my league ladies, she came in to teach Krav Maga, and she brought her own stuff, and we had a wait list for it.
Wow.
We had a 5-week program.
Now, what is that exactly?
Krav Maga is it is a it's like I don't know how to put it because it's not my thing, so I don't want to mess that up. But it's a way to defend yourself. It's
like hand-to-hand combat?
Yes. So the way I've learned it is a lot of times you're using a stronger opponent's energy against them.
Oh, I have heard of that,
right.
Yes.
I know what it is.
Awesome.
It's at the tip of my tongue exactly what it is, word for word, the definition of what it is. But it's such a great technique. And so we had ladies lined up from it everywhere from ages 17, 18 to, I think the oldest lady that took the class was like 84.
Right.
I have ladies from all ages that come in. You'd be surprised. And it breaks my heart, but it makes me so full of like joy that these women are defending themselves. But when somebody says, "Oh, I never saw myself getting a firearm," and they're in their 80s, it breaks your heart because but it breaks your heart at the same time because it makes you feel like, I'm sorry you have to feel like you have to defend yourself in this great country. Like, why? Why is that the case? It shouldn't be the case.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm so glad that you finally realize that we do not live in a safe world, especially in the last couple of years. It's only getting worse and worse, especially down the Cape. So I train a lot down the Cape. And I have ladies that come. I think I had a couple came in from Natick last week to learn. Because they learned from a sister from their hairdresser, hey, go down to Cape Gunworks and train. So the more and more that come in, it's just fabulous.
So before we get into, because I love hearing these stories, especially with women who were a victim and then they get the opportunity to fire a firearm and realize that that firearm is just a tool. It's not dangerous unless you don't know how to use it.
Correct.
So having that said, let's talk about your why story. What led you to become a firearm instructor at this point?
So the biggest thing for me was I had my own situation. So in between my full-time position as an officer and my part-time position as an officer, I had a stalker. And I came home and he had broken into my house. So I got my firearm and I had my firearm pointed at him, and he is a very proficient person with a firearm and be able to destroy me if he wanted to. And I don't have delusions of that. I will fight to my last dying breath. But when that took place, it kind of clicked something that, if I had to call the police, where are they going to be? And it's nothing against them. They're there as soon as you call, but they have to get there.
Right.
So when I knew, okay, I need to get right to my lockbox, open up I had that pointed at him quicker than I even realized I did it. And I'm like, well, what do I do next? After that, of course. It took a little while to get past that, make sure my kids are safe, all that stuff. But when it got to that point, I was like, well, what do I do next? And I started taking courses on how to teach people how to defend themselves.
And you didn't even have to use it.
I didn't. Thank God I didn't.
Right, and that's the second story that I've heard from a friend of mine from Connecticut. Didn't even have to use it. Just pointed it at the person, and they let her go.
Right. Well, he knew I would do anything
to protect you and your
my family. Right. And that's another thing that I teach my students. Yeah, everybody says, oh, it's so easy to draw a gun on somebody. It is not.
No.
Okay? Your hands are scared and shaking, it's trembling, and I tell people this is why training is important. Because I've been so comfortable with firearms, not complacent, but comfortable. It's a very big difference.
There is a huge difference.
That I knew right what to do, go to my draw. Like I teach my students, you need to have it in a way that you can be able to pick it up. You need to put it in a place that is accessible to you. You need to be able to access your safe. You need to be able to go through those steps. I tell people, walk through your home with your firearm. Learn your firearm at home.
I tell people to act like the bad guy, think like a bad guy. And it's hard to think like a bad guy when we're not the bad guys. Right? So, but walk around the house and say, if I was a bad guy,
what would I do?
What would I do and how would I get in? And if I'm in, what would I take and what would I do then?
Correct.
If I was in, what if somebody's in the bedroom sleeping? So think of these things, and now think of yourself being somebody did get in, even though I did lock the door, they broke in somehow, and now what do I do next? And how do I train to prepare for that event?
Absolutely.
But
that's another, it's not even just you as an individual. You need to train your family. You need to work together as an organized unit. Because if you only train for yourself, when it really does happen, hopefully it doesn't, God, I hope it never happens to you, then what does your family do?
Right.
You've had training. So I teach a class that teaches families how to learn together. And that's one of my favorite classes. It's called Family First Shots. Love it. So I like to teach families to work together. Because like I said, you can know what you're doing, doesn't mean the rest of your family does. So you need to create a plan with your family.
Yep.
You need to teach your family, you need to teach to your kids. Curiosity kills the cat. It's a saying for a reason. Teach your kids. If you have a firearm in the home, you need to teach your kids how to use them or the safety precautions with them.
I think, you know, I'm glad that you brought this up because it's something that's always been on my mind, and I've said this all the time. Like, I wish schools would listen to me when I say to put Refuse to be a Victim, which is a situational awareness class, in the schools, to put back in Eddie the Eagle in the schools, and then add to that the whole firearm safety rules. You can educate the public so much so that you will honestly save lives.
Absolutely.
Because curiosity kills the cat. And if Joey knows that their father or their mother goes to the range, but their father or mother don't teach them the safety rules of firearms and tell them, you don't touch this gun.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
I have 4 teenagers. Tell your kid not to do something. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I taught my kids at a very young age because I didn't want them to be curious. And then when I married my husband now, I had my 2 stepchildren, and they've never been around firearms. And the first thing I did when we moved in together is I went through firearm safety.
I love it.
And now they enjoy shooting.
That's awesome.
But I wasn't going to hide it from them because all you need is their you know, friends to come over. Hey, my parents have this, or my parents have, no.
I had a situational awareness class one time, and it was a mother and daughter. And the mother actually used to come to one of my classes all the time on a regular basis. And I said, as you know, and she went, and I'm like, oh my God, she doesn't, her daughter don't know.
That's crazy.
And I just, for the rest of the day, it really threw me off my guard. Because I'm like, oh man, I need to have a conversation with her.
Yeah.
But so, you know, I don't know about you, but we've probably gotten a lot more questions from women asking about that question.
Yeah.
When is it safe for me to tell my child? When is it safe for me to tell my family I have a firearm? And that is up to you. But as far as me, if my child knows the word no, yes, don't touch, it's hot, then that's the time for me to say, this is a firearm, this is a real firearm, and you do not touch this.
Right.
And one day, we'll go further and teach you more about this,
right.
But it's not time yet,
right.
You know. And then teaching the safety rules.
That's how I started my boys, because when I wasn't worried about my house. My stuff was secure.
Right.
It's other people's houses. So I tell families all the time, it's not about your home that you have to worry about if you know what you're doing. It's everybody else's house.
Yep.
So like my kids know where my gun safes are. They know how to utilize them if God forbid they ever had to. But when they have friends over and I'm not home, they take those gun safes and they put them away. My kids, you have to include your children because you know, some of these BB guns and stuff, same weight, same feel as a real firearm. It's terrifying. So you don't know what your kids are going to find at another house from another person. So you need to talk to them. That
actually happened to my kids. And
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
that's
they
scary.
were at a friend's house, and the boy that they were hanging out with was looking for the key to get into the gun box.
Oof.
We're not sure what the reason was, other than he was getting the key to get into the gun box. So when we found this out, and thankfully everything was locked up, so the person that had these firearms did exactly what they were supposed to do. It was locked up. They didn't know where the key was. They didn't know how to get in. So that put my mind at ease. So I wasn't upset with that person. I was just upset the fact that I don't know if the education part was necessarily.
Obviously it wasn't.
You know, so that kind of freaked me out.
Absolutely.
And that really is my why story to why I'm doing what I'm doing now, is because I realized the importance of education.
Absolutely.
And when you educate people's minds, and a lot of times I feel as though, and you can probably vouch for this, that a lot of fear comes with not knowing or not understanding.
I hear that every single time whenever
the
with
fear
a new
of the
student.
unknown, right?
Absolutely. They say, I'm nervous. And you know what I tell them every single time? The ones who are not nervous make me nervous. And that lightens it up right away, because it's true. And when it comes to it, I'm like, listen, ask questions. There's no stupid questions with firearms or your safety. It's like me coming to your job. I'm going to have to ask you a million questions because I have no idea. And then they're more open, and people are more open because it's true.
Right.
And when a student who is scared or sweaty or shaky, I've had people cry because they're so scared. But by the time we leave the range, that light that comes out of them and like the weight that is lifted, like, oh, okay, it's not as...
This was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about firearms. I wish firearms were only for fun. But unfortunately, that's not the way the world is today. It's not the way we need to live. Because unfortunately, the only way to stop a bad guy with the gun is a good guy with the gun. I wish they were for fun. Competitions,
Well, there is.
sporting,
And
it's so much fun to it.
I'm glad that you said that, because when I had a couple ladies that, you know, I'm the leader for Armed Women of America. So when I have some of the ladies come, they really truly think it's just about home protection, self-protection. But then they realize that it's a lot more. So
Yeah.
it's not just protection. You got competition, you got hunting, you got, oh God, you know, so much more.
Right, clays,
all
all that.
everything.
So like I have a girl in a gun league at where I'm at, and it's amazing how many more women have signed up and they come to competitions. And the nice thing is the reason why I started is I have one lady who'd shoot every Tuesday, and she's like, I just wish I had somebody to shoot with.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to create something here, because why would not?
Right.
And it's become so popular now, and I can't wait to do more with it. But now
IDPA,
oh yeah, so that's what I've been doing lately is I've been setting up IDPA courses for my ladies on Sundays.
I love it.
And now we're doing rifle to pistol transitions and shooting through like window setups, where before they were just learning how to make a gun to take a gun, you know?
Oh, so I use that too. Make a gun, take a gun.
It works. Your fingers high.
Wow.
So the nice thing is now the ladies we have are, you know, on our team app, they're like, hey, I'm going to be around, you know, Thursday morning at noon, and everybody going to be around. 3 or 4 ladies will show up to shoot together.
Right.
That to me is like, it was worth all the trouble of setting up an organization there. But it's nice because they feel like an impacted community, but now more and more ladies are coming. More and more women, more and more girls.
Cowboy shoots. I have a couple ladies that
they like those.
You know, left the chapter like, I'm going to go to the cowboy shoot. And I'm like, and I love it. I think it's fabulous, because then now they're bringing their husbands, and now they're telling everybody else. And,
Absolutely.
And then they got more involved with too in advocacy.
Yes.
You know, and realizing that, you know, again, it's for protection, it's for competition, collection. It's our God-given right. It's our Second
to defend
Amendment.
ourselves.
It's our civil right to have it.
Yeah.
And so now they're educated with that aspect of things too. So I think that's pretty amazing. But I do have to ask you if there's one story that stands out for you the most of either a lady or a gentleman that you've trained that was the wow moment for you, that really kind of you went home and thought about it and just was so amazed and proud.
Well, I had actually, I can't say so amazed and proud for a wow moment, because I've had some stories of people coming in, you know, of women who have restraining orders against, you know, abusive exes, stuff like that. Nothing been so serious. The last 2 weeks ago, we had a class, and the father had brought his little kids in. I'm talking little, 6 and 7 years old. They didn't get to shoot just because of the rules of the range, but they got to do all the handling and learning about what not to do and what to do. And somebody had broken into their house a couple nights before that, and he had to get his gun. And so that's terrifying when you have a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old, you know. And we've had, you know, one lady that was, you know, brutalized by her ex-boyfriend, and was stalking her, and she went and got her LTC, and she came in and got trained. And I hear a lot of stories like that. There's been no wow, like, oh my God, that's, because I hear so many of similar stories that it's more of like, not balled up in one, because that'd be the wrong way to put it, but they're empowering each other.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's perfect.
I think if I had to put it in a way of that wow moment, it's, I see all these ladies from all different kinds of backgrounds, that when we have the open forums for like meets, you and I kind of just listen. It's amazing what they're sharing with each other.
And how they help it through.
Yeah.
Because I did, again, one of my Armed Women classes, It was on developing a home protection plan. And there must have been a trigger from one of the ladies in the group. I don't know what I specifically said, but I looked over and I didn't know she had a story, and she was losing it. And I'm like, and she just, it came out.
And she needed it.
And I'm sitting there going, oh.
It's got the chills because it's happened.
I did, I got the chills. and I'm sitting there going, I'm trying to keep it together because at the same time, I'm like crying inside for her.
For her.
And all of the women around her were turned around and were like, not hugging her mentally or physically.
But just there.
But the words that came out of each other's mouths to help her through that moment was incredible.
Right.
And I looked at her and I said, well, congratulations. And she looked at me and said, for what? I said, you're no longer a victim. You are now a survivor. And that right there, she texted me that night, called me up crying. She goes, you have no idea
what that meant.
That meant to me.
Yeah.
It was like a light bulb that went off in my head and made me realize, you're right.
Right.
I just took that power back. You know?
Yeah.
And that was probably the most incredible moment I had. There's been many.
Well, that's the thing. That's why. But yes, 100%. It's when you see other people coming together, and that one simple phrase can change a person's life. Absolutely, because to feel like a victim and to always have it dwelling, the fear, that always being afraid, looking behind your shoulder, or feeling like you didn't do enough to defend yourself. You didn't do enough, and then you're like, I survived that.
Yeah.
Wow, I did.
I did that?
It's a completely empowering statement to not feel like a victim, but a survivor.
Right.
Because if I lived my whole life like that, thinking I was a victim for all the things that have happened to me, then no. I survived them, I moved on, and I'm trying to make sure other people don't have to deal with that.
And you know what's sad is the moms demand action. That's exactly what they do. They keep them as victims.
Yes.
For their own agenda, and it drives me nuts because
we could do so much more with that.
I just wish I could talk to somebody and be like, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's have a real conversation about why you are so fearful of this firearm.
Yeah.
You know, why are you so fearful?
It's the fear of the unknown.
Fear of the unknown.
I've had somebody come into the store one time. It was like a open network meeting a couple years ago, and one of the ladies was just like disgusted that she was even there. And then I got to chatting with her. She's like, I don't understand why you need to own so many firearms. I'm like, because each one is unique, just like any collection.
Right.
And they're fun to make, and they're fun to build. You know, it's a fun time. It's not always about defending yourself. And so I explained to her some more. I went through some firearm safety. I explained to her, you know, how safe firearms, responsible firearms owners have their firearms, and you know, showing her pictures of my kids shooting and the smiles on their face. And you can kind of see her shoulders coming at ease a little bit, like, all right. She's like, but why do you need so many rounds? So when I took her to, like, we went to the range and she shot 50 rounds in about 6 seconds. She's like, yeah, okay. But it's about education. Education is so key. If you don't know, just talk.
Yep, education is the key to safety, not legislation, is what I say. So going back to, do you just primarily teach women, or do you teach men as well?
I teach anybody who's willing to learn.
I love it.
Absolutely, anybody who's willing to learn. I work with anybody who wants to come in. I work with a lot of couples.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I end up doing the same thing.
The couples thing is great because now you're both on the same page. I'm working with families. It's great. I have so many different varieties of life, from airline pilots, doctors, lawyers, to anywhere that, you know, just getting out of college or getting out of high school, or their kids want to learn as a family, like all different backgrounds. People who felt like a victim but now are becoming a survivor, which I like that. No, anybody who's willing to learn, I'm willing to teach. Yep. You know, because I also learn from them. Like, I have one lady. So you say that, like, aha moment, but it's not an aha moment, but I have one lady who is near and dear to my heart. For the last couple of years, she comes in like every Thursday, and she is in her 70s. Her daughter had passed away from drug overdose. So she's raising a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and an 11-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
In her 70s. She's a nurse, works
all
full-time,
by herself.
All by herself. So she comes in, and that is her way to just decompress. As we're in the classroom just doing steps, even though she knows those steps by heart, it's her way of, and she just will talk for 20 minutes, and then she goes out and just shoots. And by the time she leaves there, it's just,
right?
It's empowered. It's not not empowering, it's just stress relieving for her. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of people like that.
It's, you know what I call it? Gun yoga.
Gun yoga. Oh, I like that.
Gun
yoga.
yoga.
Yeah,
It's gun yoga.
I like that.
Yep. So I know we're winding down. I can't believe the show's almost ending, but
yeah.
I would love to have you back and talk more
Absolutely.
about there's so much to talk about.
You know,
So
'cause
much
this
to talk about.
education is so important, and you know, you don't know what you don't know. So the only way to find out is come in and learn. So I really hope that you guys will reach out. Kerrie will put my information down the bottom if you're ever interested in just learning.
Yeah.
Education is key.
Yeah.
But so isn't safety. You need to be responsible for your own safety, your own self-awareness, and be able to protect yourself and your family, because nobody else is going to be there when you need them. So please take that education serious. Do the right thing. Train the way you're going to live.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Train the way you live. I love that. That's great. But any final words before we leave, other than that?
No, I
amazing. That was like amazing.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I want to get more women, men, children come in, learn. Like you said, it is your right. It's your right to defend yourself. Don't let anybody tell you different.
Right.
Okay? So come in, defend yourself.
And having more females talking about this, I think, is crucial.
It is.
Because everybody's so used to
Bottling it up.
Well, no, they're used to the men, the hunters,
Right.
the guys out in the woods, with the orange hats, and then they see us and they're like, "Oh, you have a firearm?"
Oh, yeah.
Really.
I hear that more and more.
And the more we start talking about the real stories and the truth about why we have firearms and the real truth about firearms,
Right.
then I think it softens things up.
It does.
So
Trust me, nobody wants to use their firearm to defend themselves.
Right.
Nobody wants to hurt anybody. So, well, us good people who carry a firearm.
And there's a class on that too.
There is. But just to be able to defend yourself, you need to have that, it's your right to defend yourself.
Yep.
Don't cower in fear.
No.
Fear is what's going to swallow you whole. Like you
Right.
said, do you want to be a victim or a survivor?
Right. And then again, knowing how to use the tool is crucial.
It
Whatever
is.
tool you decide to have, maybe many, knowing how to use that tool is so super important.
Absolutely.
You train, you train, you train. So anyways, thank you so much
Thank you for having
joining me.
So excited.
Yeah, so if you want to learn more about the show, you can always email us at sistersinarms2022@gmail.com. If you have any questions, suggestions, or maybe a show topic, send us an email. Thank you so much for having us. Stay safe, keep vigilant.